Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it a lot. We've talked about strategic planning and doing updates. I found an old file that has one of those labels on it that's about ready to fall off. From strategic planning done in whatever. Maybe when I was a kid. And it's time to update. And so thanks to the board for their willingness and commitment to invest in the support of the Oregon School Boards Association to help us walk down this road. And so tonight's orientation, we have Vince Adams, who happens to live just down the road, from the Oregon School Boards Association, who is here to work with us, and his name and face will become familiar to probably many of us. So Vince, thank you for being here. Appreciate it a lot.
Truly my pleasure. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I mean, I know several people in the room. Of course, I know the board, and Eric Beasley used to be a superintendent in the Corvallis district. Principal, sorry. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a board development specialist with OSBA, which is just a fancy term for I'm a school board trainer. I travel all over the state working with school boards, and I teach school governance. I specialize in board leadership. So I work primarily with board chairs, but I work with boards all the time. And strategic planning is one of the things that we do. I learned about strategic planning before I ever got on the Corvallis board. Before I was at OSBA, I was with Oregon State University. I worked in the extension service doing social demography, which is not something we typically associate with extension. I worked internally to help extension allocate their limited FTE throughout the state. And then I worked with local governments and nonprofit organizations doing strategic planning. And so that's how I got into the strategic planning game. After I got in 2013, I was elected to the Corvallis board. We did a couple of cycles of strategic planning. One right after I was elected, I became the chair. What was that? 2016, 2017, something like that. And we did planning, and then teed it up again, and they've gone through the cycle again. So I've done strategic planning within the context of school district before I ever started doing it with OSBA. And now I think I've done 4 or 5 of these since working with OSBA. And you're my 3rd district this year. So I'm working with the Lowell School District, and I'm also working with ALSI to do strategic planning. So it's top of mind. So this is the first installment. It's really just to get us oriented. Sometimes, you know, this is a smaller district, so you guys probably know your school board a little bit. But not every district is like that. So this is an opportunity for you guys to see each other and talk and ask questions. A lot of this is going to be content aimed at the board. What's the board's role in strategic planning? Because a lot of the planning work, the actual strategic plan, is an operational plan. And that's not something that the board does. But the upper part of that, we'll go through the structure of what these planning documents look like. What is the board's role? And then staff, what's your role in this process? We'll go look over the calendar, and then we're going to be going out to community to get some input from them. We'll do a process to get some input from you on what you want to know. And so hopefully it won't take more than a couple of hours to get through all of this. I'm an extension guy, so this is a workshop. Feel free to stop, ask questions. If I say something that pisses you off, then that's great. Let's have a conversation about that. So that's all good. I don't know everybody in the room, so I'm going to start over here, and I need a name and what you do in the district.
I'm Joey Giovanangelo, and I'm the facilities director.
Yeah.
Not superintendent, but
Not superintendent,
right?
sorry.
So, yeah, so I'm at Blodgett and then along with elementary, second. So
Joe Daly, school board member, been in the district for almost 40 years. Ryan Cheek, school board member.
Sandy Herring, school board member.
Rick Welsh, school board member.
Kelsey Great Hannah, Student Services.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
Steve Bell, principal at middle school.
And that is school board member.
Yeah.
Susan Halliday, supposedly a superintendent.
So,
Jennifer Durkin, business manager.
Clark Giroux, principal of the academy. Mark Henderson, principal of high school.
Dee Dee Collins, assistant principal at high school.
Okay.
Abby Couture, principal at the primary school.
Wow, all right, so we got the building administrators here. Great.
We did that
Yeah,
and then
Michelle, let's not
Well,
forget
Michelle, and you are part of this as well. So yeah, definitely. I know you're not just here taking notes.
Thanks.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, cool. Well, let's dive into this. I think I have norms that you can see that I'm a very polished presenter here, like. Like sheep remote from China, come on.
My kid got one of those yesterday, it's so exciting.
Oh, no.
It has a little pointer on there.
Man,
if you pointed at the
my
computer.
thing broke. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Here we go. Let's try this again. Represent. Remote is on. There we go. All right. Norms. I love these norms. These are the ones that that my team uses, so I like to share them with you guys. I need to do this work. Hopefully we can move these meetings earlier so that, you know, I know you guys, you have to get up early and open your school, so I'd love to get you home to your families and get you into bed so you can get to work in the morning. But yeah, stay engaged. You worked all day, so we need to be present and engaged doing this work, okay? We will be probably surfacing some controversial and potentially sensitive topics, things that might rub us a little wrong, or just are a little uncomfortable. So when those things come up, try to listen to understand, and try to lean into that, make that conflict a little bit productive. I mean, if we have a little bit of rubbing going on, that's a good thing. Confidentiality, we're in a public meeting, that's kind of tough. But if you're in, we're going to be doing a lot of small group work. And some, you know, hopefully you'll be having really authentic conversations. Keep those in this room and in this process. We want to go deep in this work because that's where we get the best for our kiddos. Okay, so lean in. Speak your truth responsibly. Well, what does that mean? Okay. Don't shout at anybody. Don't throw binders at anyone. Yeah. What else?
I was gonna say be politically correct, but I don't know what that is anymore.
Not a huge fan of political correctness.
Uh-huh.
I grew up in Reedsport, so it's like I'm a little rough around the edges.
I think part of the responsibility would be if you have, if it's something that you believe is true, if it does not serve the process, there's no reason to bring it up.
Yeah, sure. Are we moving the group forward? And maybe if you think, oh, I'm gonna say this thing and so I'm probably gonna ruffle some feathers here. Think about how that's gonna land and then frame your words carefully is all. Just be thoughtful about how your words are gonna land. Okay? Yeah, because we're all aiming at the same thing here. We're all on the same side. Okay? Ooh, what about this one? Experience discomfort and do things differently. Oh, I hate that. Yeah, we're gonna have to think critically about what we've been doing and what we can do to meet kids where they're at. You know, how are we gonna reach each and every kid?
We ask our students to do.
Yeah. In a steeply resource constrained environment. How do we do this? How do we do this work? Really hard. And expect and accept non-closure. We're gonna create a plan. You guys are gonna have to execute on it. You're gonna adjust it. It's not gonna be perfect. And we're not gonna get it all right in the first year. It's just the way it is. Of course, throughout, take care of yourself. So I don't know where the bathroom is yet, but I'll figure it out.
Have that works, all right, and then
So yeah, if you need to step away, whatever you need to take care of yourself, whatever you need to be fully present in the room to do the work. Anything else? Am I missing anything that needs to be up here?
I like.
Cool. Okay. Let's get into the stuff. Okay, so let's talk about what we're gonna do. So here we are, program orientation, it's March 5th. Over the next month, we're gonna deploy a survey into the community to get some feedback. One of our tasks today is to get input from the group so I can know what questions to ask your community. So I'll build out that survey for you, but I need your input on that. So that's gonna be our last thing that we do. These are tentative dates, and of course, this is not etched in stone. You all are in education, things change, things come up, and maybe someone's gonna, a ball team's gonna go, literally, I've had people reschedule their strategic planning because the ball team went to state, so it's like, okay, that may happen, and that's okay, so this is not etched in stone, we can shift this based on the needs of the team, okay? So if we gotta stretch this out, that's fine. So looking at April, we're gonna come back and look at the results of that survey. And then we're gonna work on this, well, it says profile, but portrait of a graduate. Show of hands, how many people know about portrait of a graduate? Oh my goodness, you're gonna love that session. Yeah, portrait, so you probably heard of like a vision, like a district vision, you probably have one. Does anybody know your district vision off the top of your head? You know, she's pointing at you.
He said, but you got it.
You know about the.
Serving student for graduation and training and beyond.
Wow, that's-
Graduate every student for job training.
Okay, cool. You guys do know it. That's great. Yeah, they're important. Most people in the room don't know the vision. And I really like this idea of a portrait of a graduate because it lays out what we want our kids to look like when they leave our system. What do you want your kids to graduate like? What do you aim at? And it's a really outcome-based way of articulating your vision. So love this process. We'll talk more about that when we hear that report, and we'll do some work around that. Situational analysis just means we're going to look at data. We're also going to do SWOT analysis if anybody has done that. So we'll look at data, we'll identify, strengths and challenges, threats, opportunities, looking internally and externally, and we'll start working on building priorities for the district. The next one, this is going to be August, we're going to come back and we're going to really do some wordsmithing on these priorities, get them polished up. After that, we're going to go back out to community. We're going to share that. We can survey that. We can do focus groups, whatever you guys want. I can help you with that, or you can do it on your own, whatever you prefer. And we're going to need to go out and do a check-in. And then based on the feedback that we get, we need to refine those priorities. And then the board in the fall is going to adopt those priorities. So those priorities they're like, each one is like a mini vision statement. And if we do the things in those priorities, then we know that we're going to move the needle for our kids. And so that's why it's important that the board adopt it. We're locking those in. Because next, staff is going to have to start doing plan development. We don't want the board moving. We don't want to move the goalpost on staff when you guys start doing operational plan. Now, I know by the time you get to this December, February, you'll already have really good ideas on how to operationalize those priorities. Your brains are going to be churning this whole time, okay? But in December and February, that's when we're going to actually you guys are going to build out that operational plan. I added a check-in, so you're going to, midway, superintendent's going to meet with the board and say, this is where we're at with our operational plan. This is what it looks like. These are the strategies we're looking at. And board says, yes, that aligns with our priorities, or I don't quite understand that. And it gives you an opportunity to do a little calibration. At the end of that process, about this time next year, we're gonna bring that strategic plan and those priorities back together. And you guys are gonna do a check-in with the board, and these things are gonna spline together really tight, because that's what always happens. But we need to do that alignment review. And then the board will go ahead and adopt the strategic plan. And then we're not done then, because that's just the plan, but then we have to track progress to the plan. Now, we'll have a pretty darn a good idea how we want to track progress to these priorities. But one of the things we're gonna have to do is indicator selection and then develop the monitoring plan. And the monitoring plan lays out what are those indicators that the school board is going to track? When is the board gonna get that data? And what is that data gonna look like? How is it gonna be presented? Is it gonna be a table? Is it gonna be a line chart? Whatever it is. We lay that out, okay? They don't get all the data. You know, superintendent principals, you guys are awash in data. You guys know all kinds of information. But the board, we're gonna give them like 12 or 15 indicators for them to track, okay? And that's how they're gonna track progress. We adopt the monitoring plan, and then you go to work with it. And so that's the overall process, takes about a year. Any questions? Is this reasonable? Is this unreasonable?
Well, one question is it, you asked the question, do we know what our vision is? Is that the assumption that that's locked in and we're not revising that? The reason I ask is because I really like our vision that we're graduating and preparing people for a job and a career. But here we are with a board that are not being paid anything, are not doing it for a career or whatever, but you do it because you're an engaged citizen, right? Because you care about your community. So I've always kind of wondered if there was a missing piece in our vision to say, do we want our current students to become like you guys someday and be involved in the community and care? So is there an engaged civic or something community piece that we would need, or are we not doing that as part of it?
We certainly can. So when we do profile of a graduate, we can do that here. We can also build that into the strategy priorities section. I really like reverse engineering the vision and mission statement. So I really want to know from the experts in the room, what are the things that this school district needs to do to move the needle for kids? And once we know that, then we can roll that up into a vision.
I completely agree.
I agree.
But I mean, I think that's the underlying in all the teachers and administrators in the district, is that's something that we try to instill in the students, but if it's not explicitly stated, maybe it doesn't have much power.
And we've definitely talked about that a lot in our work sessions this year. You know, preparing students to be good citizens of the world is like basically the language that we've used a lot. So we're definitely on the same page. So that's exciting to me.
And even if it doesn't find its way into the vision statement, it certainly can find its way into the portrait of graduate. And almost all of them do have something like that type of language.
And we had a whole, I don't know when that was, we had a whole meeting about this, because I've been very vocal, I don't like our mission statement. To me, it has like 4 options. So I don't like how it says transition every student for career, college, tech, it sounds very closed. I like prepare kids for life. So we went through a whole work session. Susan got us vision statements from 10 schools or something. We looked at what theirs were. But I've never liked ours. I just don't like how it's closed.
Yeah.
So it says you graduate with these 4 options.
Like it's limited to.
Yeah, so I just don't like how, so I hope during this process, we look at that too, just because I don't like the way it is.
Okay, we will definitely put that in there. When was the vision and mission developed? Does anybody remember? Was anybody involved with that process?
Yep.
You were? Yeah.
We were here, we're around it.
Yeah, probably would have been, and then it was the Melissa Goff era. When we did that, so that was.
Okay.
Before 2020.
Like 16.
My kid in high school.
Okay, so it's time, and that doesn't mean we're gonna throw it away, but we should take another look at it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's the process. Okay, so district-wide leadership team. What is that? This is actually, district-wide leadership team, or in the education science parlance, it's a distributed leadership team. Is a group of folks that are in the room who take leadership for the district's improvement efforts. So that's come alongside the board to do this work. So this is the board and the DL team meeting together right now. The sequence, the next bullet. Yeah, and so this is a big piece, is that you guys are the interface between the board and the rest of the staff in I mean, we're gonna go outside of policy here, but really in the sense of, in a leadership sense, you are joining the leadership team. And when I say leadership team, I'm talking about the superintendent and the board. You're helping govern the district by coming along and being the experts in the room, the content experts. Let's see. Yeah, and I mean, this is leading a modeling collective and collaborative inquiry process, so the collaboration that you're gonna do in this room, you're finding it elsewhere in the district. Yeah, and then because you will have helped make the strategic plan, you will be owners, you're gonna be plank owners of this. You can help the rest of your staff to engage in this work and see what else do we have. Yes, and of course, because of that, because you are going to participate in it, yeah, you'll be best positioned to defend it when people critique it. Because people will. Okay. So DLT, you guys are really important. There's no expectation that anybody sitting on the school board has any expertise in pedagogy or school administration, even school government. So it's really important to have a DLT alongside a school board to do strategic planning. And it would be malpractice to do it otherwise, because then you're just taking folks off the street trying to make decisions on what's best for kids. And that's not gonna work out. Okay, who can be on it? So we have building, mostly building administrators here. I'm glad you're here, because you're gonna be a part of this. Facilities will undoubtedly come up in this process. So central office folks, so yeah, you're teaching and learning folks. So I don't know if you have dedicated teaching and learning folks, of course, building principals. You guys know who your master educators are. So if there are teachers that need to be in this room, it would be really nice to have a special ed teacher in the room. That's a good idea. Your classified folks, you know who your ACE classified. So
And I met with our licensed union today, and they know that we're meeting tonight, and I said, you will be included in the process, just not tonight. Because of kind of being a little uncertain of where we would actually go. But they are appreciative of that, and we'll meet with our classified group next week. With that same sentiment, to be able to take a look at wanting the input and the involvement of representation from those groups as well.
Yeah. So superintendent and building administrators, think about who needs to be in this room supporting the board and going through this. So if it's not you guys, who needs to be bold? Okay. Oh, we don't need to go over this. I think we understand the need for this. One of the things, and this is something to be mindful of, don't worry about the text. This is a reminder for me. When we bring educators into the room, we bring, rank and file folks in. Sometimes there's this sentiment that, oh, now they're working with administration and they've gone to the dark side. And so seriously, it does happen from time to time. So just be aware of that and mitigate it as needed. If it comes up, we can help you navigate that. But I think clear lines of communication, particularly with the union leadership, can go a long way to addressing that issue. Okay, let's see. Prompt slide. Any questions about the district-wide leadership team? We're just flying along. You guys are not talking very much.
We'll get it.
Need to put something controversial on this.
It seems pretty clear so far.
Good, okay. Okay, so let's talk about school board. So school board, you should recognize this slide. Should be, I saw one, good, okay, one remembered, good. So I don't expect you to digest this. This is really just, it's a timeline of the research connecting school boards to impacts on student outcomes. So when I first got on the board in 2013, the dominant theory in school boards and how they impact kids was from the Lighthouse inquiries. And that was at Iowa State, Mary Della Gardell and Tom Ellsbury. They had this amazing idea. They were like, if we train school boards, will they change what they do? And does that improve academic outcomes? And so they went out and they applied this. It was a 24-hour training program, if you can imagine that. So, I mean, 24 hours of board time, that's a lot of time. And sure enough, they found that indeed, scores went up. They replicated it in Montana and Texas and found the same outcome. Eventually, Oregon became a lighthouse state. And sure enough, training boards actually has a positive impact. And so since then, there's been this, this is actually a really dated slide because there's more articles that we could put on here. A growing body of research showing that school boards can positively impact student outcomes by positively impacting all y'all, okay? So looking at what it is that school boards should be doing. So a couple example articles along the top. I really want to draw your attention to this left-hand side of the screen. Really, we're talking about strategic planning, and that's the top thing that the school board to have a positive impact on students should be doing. They should be setting clear expectations and creating a vision of what's possible for the kids in your school district. They should be building a climate and aligning resources towards this vision and goals. They should be tracking progress using data and monitoring. That's why we have a monitoring plan built into this process. Cohesive teaming is just a snazzy term for what the board is doing right now. The board is meeting with the superintendent and a district DLT to engage in a collaborative process, learning together and co-creating knowledge. Okay, so cohesive teaming, learning together as a board team, demonstrating commitment to unified governance. Okay, stakeholder and community engagement, we're going to embed that in this process in the ways that we described. That's one of the things that they need to be doing, and it's their key role. They are the interface between the public institution of education in this community and the public. Okay, and the last one is policy and accountability, because this is essential, because that's how the board operationalizes its governance. So they only meet once a month, right? Maybe twice. And in the intervening 14 or 30 days, all y'all need to know what you're supposed to be doing. And the way that they set that expectation is through district policy. So these are high performing boards that have positive impacts on student outcomes. Okay, let's flip the coin. Summary slide. I'll come back to this. Oh no, I took out the BAPSA. Well, that's okay. There's a whole slide dedicated to all the naughty things that boards can do that can have negative impact. And I think, we've seen a lot of them. We can probably think of at least 5. Give me examples of naughty things that boards do that have negative impacts on kids.
Trying to micromanage.
Thank you. That's one. Micromanaging superintendent. What else?
Trying to make staff.
Yeah, that's micromanaging. Yeah, pushing into administration for sure. Cultivating poor relationships. A lot of it is about relationships.
Not showing up.
Ooh, disengagement. Sure. One more.
Maybe fixating on a single issue versus their job to kind of look at, broadly how to get.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, having an axe to grind. Sometimes people get elected because they have that key issue. That they're gonna work on that. Okay, so at OSBA, we subscribe to the balanced governance, theoretical framework for how school boards should operate, and a lot of the concepts in there are placed on a continuum. So this one is about, this is about, it's role orientation is what it's called, but we don't want a board to be disengaged, that's bad. And then we also heard the other example of behaving badly, of micromanaging, right? We want them somewhere in the middle. We want them in this state of informed oversight. So where they're in the boardroom, hearing from you guys, getting information from the superintendent and staff on what's going on. They want to be in the state of informed oversight. So here, I mean, they're caught in between two poles, and this is one of the hardest things about being on a school board, is they're living in two places at once. One, they're elected and they are beholden to the electorate in the public. But on the other side, they're trustees. And they have a responsibility to children. And it seems increasingly these days that those two things are more and more in conflict with each other. There's a lot of special interests pulling on the ear of your school board members. And so they're always living on a continuum here. We want them in this, we don't want them on either end. We want them kind of in the middle here in this engaged vision-based leadership where they're using your district priorities, your vision that you guys have collaboratively created to set their agenda on what they're going to work on. Because if you guys as experts identify those things that this district needs to do to move the needle for kids, then that is what the board should be aiming at. And everything else is pretty much a distraction. Because there's only one thing that we're supposed to be doing, right? We're launching kids into post-secondary life. That's our job. Everything else is a distraction. So yeah, we want to keep the board here, and doing this strategic planning work is crucially important for building that culture, which is the next slide. Because culture eats strategy for breakfast. Thank you, Peter Drucker. So yeah. You can build also, I mean, it's a cliche for a reason. Strategic planning, you put it in the binder and it goes on the shelf, right? And it's because if you don't have culture, no one's going to look in the binder. That's why we get a DLT alongside the board to do this, because we got to build the culture around your strategic plan. You guys got to believe in this stuff. Because if you don't believe in it, it's not going to happen. So there's lots of things here, formal systems, roles and responsibilities, organizational structure. We have processes and, oh yeah, we got those policies. But I mean, if the culture is not good, the policy is not going to be effective. We can go around those policies anyway. Let's be real. So yeah, all this stuff that's below the water here, our behaviors, our customs, what we believe is possible. Do you believe kids from Philomath can be astronauts or anything else? Yeah, you got to drink the Kool-Aid to make this stuff work, okay? So while we're going to be building a few documents, they're not going to be that big. Really what we're working on is this, okay? So governance versus administration is really about what are we going to do and how we're going to do it. School board is all about the what. What needs to get done. And then all you staff in here, you're all about the how we're going to get it done. So the board's role here is in setting direction. And staff, you guys got to figure out how to get us there. Okay, sorry, but it's a full-time job for you. For the rest of us, it's a volunteer gig. Okay. But yeah, that's essentially how this is. And we need to keep those things separated because the board can't do this operational stuff. We don't have the authority and don't have the expertise. Okay. So we rely on you to do that. So board's role, setting strategic direction. Are you hearing? I'm kind of hitting these themes over and over again. setting direction, alignment, ensuring alignment, and monitoring progress. And so these are the three things we want to walk through. So setting strategic direction, this is, collaboratively reviewing district community information, identifying our priorities, and identifying those key metrics. Then doing this whole thing collaboratively. But this is where the board lives, is in the priority area. Those big, hairy, audacious goals that you guys are gonna create. Alignment, so this is going back to our process. The board reviews the strategic plan, that's the operational plan. That's the strategies and underlying actions that you guys are gonna develop. They're gonna make sure that that aligns to the priorities based on the conversations that you've had. They're gonna give you feedback. And then, superintendent and the district team revises as needed. And then monitoring, this gets in a little bit into the weeds on actually doing this. But once you have this and you have your monitoring plan figured out, you know what the board's gonna track, then giving data reports to the board is easy. It's already built into the plan, so it's easy to hit this 5-6 times a year, maybe even more, where the board is getting a regular diet of progress data. Student data, so, what do you guys use? Star, iReady, Dibbles?
We're iReady.
iReady, okay, so, they could be looking at iReady data.
Little IXL.
Yeah. They can be looking at that stuff 3 times a year, and should be. They should be walking along with you and doing that work. It's rolled up. We're not gonna look at classrooms. We can, board rig probably shouldn't even be looking at individual buildings, but rolled up for the district, yeah, they can walk with you in that. For sure, so once you get through with this, yeah, the board will start having these one-way communication where you guys are reporting to them. And then setting up these specific work sessions where you do deep dives. A lot of districts will have one with their board. They usually do it in the summer. I really like the idea of having 2. So you have one in August, one in January. Right after the holidays, they take a deep dive, look at your kids. Hopefully you did some assessments. You may delay that a little bit, maybe do a little later. So you can get that those mid-year micro assessments and look at that data. It's a good time to check in. And then doing it time, but there are others that do it like 3 times. They like doing retreats every 4 months. That's probably too much. But if you guys want to do that, go there. It'll be really good. Your board will skill up as you do that. Because you're going to build an expectation in them. And when new board members come on, they're going to be using jargon. They're going to be using the same jargon that you are. They'll know what MTSS and PLCs are. They're going to be able to talk about and have assessment literacy and understand how to interpret that data. And new board members will be like, oh, crud, I've got a lot to learn. And they do. Okay. So you want to build that culture, that expectation that your school board members are experts right along with you. That was really fast. You guys didn't talk. That was only 45 minutes. Any questions? Does it sound good? Are you guys angry? Are you just tired?
I
Okay.
think one of the things that we're fortunate for, is because of our size, we work together a lot.
Great.
Out of the necessity and essential to be able to do it. And I think that helps. The one thing we haven't done for quite some time is to be able to have this kind of a session that puts all of our administrators in front of the board. And I think that's of value. And so it's almost like relearning how do we talk to each other, and how do we do that. So I think we'll lighten up.
It's all good. You guys had a full work day. So what I need to do is I have 5 board members. Let's see, I have 5 board members, and if I counted right, I have 10 members of staff. So I need 2 staff members with each. So. I'm gonna go one, wait, no, I need 5. I need staff to count off in 5. That's what I want. So I'm gonna start here. 1,
1, 2,
3, 4,
5, 1,
2.
3.
Okay. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you remember your number, so pop into the small groups. Ready, set, go.
You're the one.
Right, yeah. Re-explain it.
That was really good.
How about whoever's over this table? Edie?
Labs over here.
I'm just gonna take a chair to the end.
5.
Is that all right?
Right here.
Okay.
I'm 3, there's 3.
5.
3. Okay, good, we're right here.
I think you can.
3. Darker blue. 3.
I prefer pink.
And then-
Twos.
Oh, I do.
Blue.
Couple of friends were like, you're not leaving me out to go. "What?"
You want me to go get it?
Yellow all the way.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So I have 3 prompt questions for you. And so what I want is the top, you can come up with as many ideas as you want, but I want your 3 most important questions for each one. I got 5 groups, so that's 15. So that should be plenty of input. So 3 most important questions based on the prompt. Okay, so I'll put the first one up to get us going. Here's the prompt. No. So what are the most important insights that we need from the community to inform our planning process? So come up with lots of ideas, but I want the 3 most important insights that you need to know for your community. And then, how much time, if got lots of time, how much time do you guys want? 5? What's 5 minutes?
5 to 10.
Okay.
Uh,
I'll give you 7 and check in.
Process. Well.
You're talking. And each idea on one post-it.
Oh.
Yeah, the backbone to this. So my question is. That's really important. And
Vince,
Yes.
when you have a chance, would you send me the, I couldn't see the sketch, the timeline.
That's in the proposal, so I can
Oh,
resend
it's
it.
the same? Okay, and I thought maybe it's.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I kept the
Okay.
schedule that we had. So we can change it. But I ain't read the slide deck anyway. So
Okay,
it's a public meeting, so we have to.
I want to be able to schedule,
Yeah,
like schedule them out.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can get them locked in. I can't do it, so they'll get.
Yes, and I let them know that 4 o'clock would be an option, so. Usually,
Right after, whenever you may want to go in the afternoon, that's great. Yeah, and if it's only 2 hours, like Lowell, I'm only doing 2-hour sessions with them. It might lengthen things out a little bit, but it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Because these guys all have work for it kind of too.
Yeah.
It's a two-part single question. There we go.
Yeah, what do they see as priority, more focus on classroom learning or hands-on learning?
No, I was.
Science class, more hands-on focus,
It's right.
Right.
Maybe like.
For the kids. Because
As far as.
right? Because they started.
It's about,
Yeah.
outside, everyone can mention, but it's really about what is
Hardly anybody. There's crazy.
Like. Yes,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so.
And then we talk about, yeah, so the right
I've had a lot of input for our vision for the community and
Like ours, community already.
so it's kind of, and I'm not sure how.
You got 3 minutes remaining.
You know, and I don't know.
Changes or how
And for like the other two questions you get asked, what is the most important? What's the most important thing you believe your children believe? And that's true. I agree. That's a good,
Sure.
That works.
They're totally happy to be in conversation or like it. Like, that's like asking the absolutely without seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming up on a minute. to Start prioritizing. And one idea on a post-it.
So you could write it.
I could not get it's too early to write colors.
They are now. Oh, they are retired? Oh, that's good.
Trying to make things pretty and. Just like the words.
That
About what is the highest? Higher.
I think it just makes good sense. Yeah. There's. I try out, but I ask.
20 seconds.
I think
Trying to artificially. All right. No, it will be fun. One will not be able to actually order some
I'm not, I'm they're all in agreement. They're all in agreement. It's like, I don't, you know, I'm doing that for you, but. Yeah.
All right. Looks like you guys are done. You guys are done. Looks like these guys are done. The boards are still working. Okay, I need 2 volunteers.
Okay, well.
Okay, Joe,
What did you say?
I need 2 volunteers.
Sure.
I got 1. Okay, Susan. Okay, you and Joe, you're gonna collect them and then go ahead and put them on the board here, but I want you to group them by theme. By theme.
Here we go, Joe.
I'll put them on the board, you can help.
Teamwork.
Here's each one, 3, right?
Your top 3.
Not 3 yet. Oh, you're not
Your
ready yet?
most important ones.
Okay, I'll be back. First one is.
Yeah. No, they're still working.
We'll see.
Good enough?
Yeah.
No reading.
You better.
Good Lord. Paragraph.
That's how we're riding.
Sweet tea.
Yeah.
So I just. I do know why. It's just like.
I know that.
Yeah.
And I know I got. But real world learning is over this part. Okay.
Like reading her.
Thank you.
Good time to take a break. You need to take a break.
I've never experienced a life where like how actually existed. I think it's related to like unfitness and struggling to like go through. Two of my it's no surprise to anyone, that's why she was our youngest child, and then our youngest turned. High school. I you're like straight.
Okay, so we got them all grouped up.
We think we got them.
So what bubbled up on this one?
We had one here that was pretty specific to technology, and what we thought we were looking for is if we saw things that had to do with, do we have enough? So in terms of technology, instructional materials, things like that, and so that was kind of the general tenor of where we were going here.
Also, is there too much? Because I know some people would rather see less technology in the class, so.
Good
That's,
point.
yeah.
This really focused around more of the look of a graduate. Are they ready for the real world? Our students, do you believe our schools set our children up for success in today's world? What are words they would use to describe a PHS graduate? So,
Yeah, what do you believe the student should know and be able to do? It's all sort of based on that same concept.
this seemed to come up about community and partnerships. So what partnerships are available? What do we need to do to get community members involved? And do you support the operating levy and funding? So this was really a lot more community-based. This was a conglomerate of real-world hands-on vocational education, community CTE, or college and AP classes. Are we offering programs that the community supports? And what's the highest priority for our schools? So this was really about more programmatic kinds of things in the way that we put it together. You good, Joe?
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Is there anything that's missing that's gotta be up there? Because what they're doing by grouping these is we're starting to build survey questions. I think grouping. What else? Is there something that's gotta be up there? And understand that we're gonna be able to ask maybe 5 questions. So there's 4 parts to the survey. So we'll have a student survey, we'll have staff survey, community survey, and a parent survey. Okay, and so they're all in one, so there's one link to click on, but when they go in, they'll identify who they are. So if they're a parent, I'll click, I'm a parent, and then they'll get a series of questions for parents. Then there'll be a couple open-ended ones at the end of the survey. What's going on, what could be better? So with that context, what else needs to be up here? Just checking. And if we got it, and that's great.
What do you think we're missing?
I don't know what they are. What about technology? It's kind of alone, and who was the beach team? You guys know we haven't seen it. So is that an issue? Has that been an issue in the district? Too much technology, not enough?
I think funding.
We're in the throes of a lot of that right now. We had plans to be able to update teacher and student technology more. And then we got hit with a phone system that needed to be repaired and replaced. And a key card system that now, if your card goes defunct, you're dead in the water. And so replacing those backpedaled us out of a few things. And so we've got some people that we don't have enough. We don't have the right stuff. And then the other side of it, I think my guess would be it kind of goes back to the, are we asking students and staff to become dependent on computer usage? And there's less interaction, and so we really need more of an opportunity to be able to have the engagement in a classroom as opposed to technology everywhere I turn. That's my guess.
So then my question for the group is, do we need to know that for the strategic planning work? Or is that something that you can drill into later?
Going off what Susan said, and I didn't think about technology. the more technology is pushed, the less the person has to think for themselves. So having that question in the survey, it kind of, in my mind, goes with some of the vocational, the more hands-on critical thinking, the ability to think for yourself versus asking your phone for the answer. So I do think it'd be, I never considered technology, but I do think it'd be important to get the input of the community. I guess it's more of a critical thinking. Is technology affecting the ability to think or the community's opinion
Yeah, a
on?
big part of that is how the technology is used.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's one, it could be, is technology being used the way you think it should be in the schools or something? Okay, so I don't know, that's.
Part of, sort of falls under the program offering pieces and.
You got a pen, could you jot down the use the program?
Maybe like that, I've heard it kind of nicely, dichotomy of are we consuming or are we producing? Is the technology for production and creative thinking and researching, or is it for, there's a lot in education right now, I get emailed every day, they're like, put your kids on this, and we're like, we just don't believe that consuming more technology is really the answer. So, but there's a strong push always for that.
Well,
So
is
the-
it appropriate, is it supported, and is it safe? Those are always my questions around technology. Are we keeping up with our? Because obviously, we need technology in a school district.
Absolutely.
So much is digital,
Yeah.
student records, all of that. So are we keeping that safe? Do we have the funding to keep that safe and supported?
Yeah.
Are we also teaching our students and their parents, let's be honest, literacy, or media literacy? Are we teaching them how to know whether something's AI? Count the teeth, count the fingers. Come on, you guys. We all know it by now. And so I think those are big questions, but also, do we have the finances to keep our technology moving forward? And is that a priority area for people?
Okay.
And I think facilities goes along with the technology on that same exact bucket.
Right, yeah.
With that last part.
I went bigger. What are kind of the infrastructure pieces? So that's why I thought about, there's technology, there's instructional materials, there is facility, there is, so it was, I assumed, which I always know is dangerous, that it could fall into a category of, resource.
I almost feel like this needs to be an open-ended question.
Sure.
Okay.
Could be one of the ones at the end.
Okay, great. So get back in your grooves. You're not done. Here we go. Next one. So what challenges or concerns, sounds like technology is one of them. What challenges or concerns are we hearing from students, families, and community members that we need to address in the survey? So what are the problems that you're getting an earful on that you want more information on? Okay, and you got 7 minutes. Ready, set, go.
We're doing 3 things again.
3 things, your top 3. Okay. Gonna run.
I'll go back and say.
Yeah, I mean, and so I think like. Community, like, society, we want to say, this is what we do, yeah, okay. My son, but. We don't. They're like in the classrooms, they're like, and so people say, we're not seeing it cause more problems. It's, I mean, they work stuff on
every parent is always working.
I didn't know.
So cool.
I feel like yeah, I think that's good. Is that really an option? It's practical.
At a time,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Big question.
No, because I tried.
Oh, so, yeah, just dropping the kids off and picking up. New resources.
I think folks like yeah, I've heard before of communication. I don't, but I think it's more of a
Yeah, I don't know why it's right. Well, I sort of just
Oh, yeah.
All the especially.
I mean, great, because always say that comment, because like, it's already
I had a good question over here that they asked if DC to be phrased in US in terms of question. No, not necessarily. I just need the context.
I think that's a lot about. Excellent. Way to.
It sounds like it would be, I think.
Three minutes.
Feel like. And then.
Yeah, because I mean, if I wanted to.
I mean, this is way back. We'll get there. I don't know if that was. I mean, that's part of the technology.
A lot of people are, yes, one of the state manager. A lot of the state.
So. One of the concerns.
I don't know. It's not right, they know what they do. No, thank you. I think like, no, thank you. Thank you for asking.
That might be something. But yeah, it's and but we also, hey, you know, so you can.
No, I just kind of. Yeah, yeah.
See what bubble.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
All right, 20 seconds. They're done. They're done. They're done. Okay. Joe's jumping back in there. I need two volunteers to. Two new volunteers. Joe and Susan, volunteer for us. So good. Oh, right, stop. Okay, I need three volunteers. It's just putting up post-its in groups, folks. It's not, the bar is not high here. Does take a little bit of effort, a lot.
Oh, good for you.
See, the alternative is the consultant group, so then that's not good. You don't want that. 'Cause I will definitely get it wrong.
Prize.
Candy, there we go. Oh,
I
prizes.
forgot about that.
Sprout Girl Scout reading.
I will get
I wouldn't have had enough.
swag.
I have a couple of, we used them, we did our tape.
You learned that one, right?
Yeah. Stress balls.
I know to assist you about it.
Things like that. That was my intent for public schools.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good safety.
Yeah,
Sure.
whatever it was. You know.
And I love it.
Yeah.
All honesty and transparency, I love it.
Yeah.
Scratch the message, I guess. Well, it's. Oh, Michelle. The board meeting, and she had something with the names about last year.
I know, but I. Overall, we're.
So we've got some overlapping.
Attendance still that
Like this kind of impacts here, but also very much.
About the same. Okay.
Okay.
And this is.
That's all we're saying. Resources. Okay.
Well, this is my first, so I felt comfortable saying.
I didn't do that.
Okay, so we have themes, kind of, they're overlapping, there's plenty.
Okay, yes, we have overlapping themes. So we've got safety. This is all basically saying safety, but on top of that, we've got mental health and social and emotional. And I decided to post, I just was like, putting it here, that this also is about two-way communication, especially around controversial topics. I personally see a connection between that social and emotional and that. Preparing students with foundational skills and resilient future citizens kind of together. Available resources. We have the resources that our students need when they're not succeeding, but even when they are. We also need that. And then.
This theme was about facilities, you know, like, do we have the finances to do the facilities that we were thinking, and then, cell phones and technology.
Awesome, thank you. Just do a round of applause. Thank you. Okay. I know you guys are really busted up and really upset with me. We're gonna get out early.
Oh.
I'll try to do that every time, but we'll see. Okay, last prompt. Here we go. 7 minutes. Last one is, what strengths or successes do we want the community to help us recognize and build on? With emphasis on build on.
First thing in mind is that, like.
There are good things happening. On the road.
Like basic experience, partnerships and graduation.
Graduation slash reporting.
And instead of going to class, you go down to the distance and actually get paid to work for it. Community business.
Nice. Cool. Cell phones.
So do we want something to say, students is.
But of course,
And so I think that that's the strength of this district as far as hands-on, minds-on.
That's exactly where I want it. So.
Really?
Yeah, that's true. Exactly, it feels to the kids that are.
Give the graduate options. After graduate. To build on.
That was my grandson's. They have their, I think they call it.
Yeah.
I asked if they have like.
Different. Athletic programs. And I didn't answer. Because you include this in night voting.
I think that, I don't think we do that mostly.
Well,
I think it's about.
They,
Yeah.
right. Which I
I'm thinking if we have an allowance. I still.
Those are. Yeah, he's presented several, so I don't know.
2.5 minutes remaining.
But not getting lost. How do we, how do we continue to maintain that students are, students are experienced where they are heard and noticed. If you sit down with the staff and a group of people, and I know a lot of staffs that have done it, that taken, every kid's name in the school. And somebody picks one.
Successes.
Whatever.
You're all making. Oh, my.
And the importance of that level of education is just saying, I got a lot of time on that too. And I don't know how they are. So every day I notice that every day. Yeah.
Now you're gonna try it.
And the idea
I know,
So are kids? Yeah.
Okay. Our moments are waiting, I'm sure. 1 minute.
Yeah. So we're doing that. Yeah. Mark, sorry.
I think everybody's done. So we need 2 more volunteers. It's not easy, I'm sure.
I'm getting tired when I heard it from Brad.
But I got 1 volunteer. I need 1 more volunteer. See, there you go. Maybe it's
Oh.
I know, I was gonna go. Do all these fun things after I And I did, no,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Also on their side. Really, so I've never.
How you doing, Michelle?
And I've been there and I'm tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, how we doing? Oh, well, that was quick. Was it really clear? Okay, tell us the story.
Yeah. Well, there's some nice clusters here.
The engagement, relationships, belonging, that's something that, you know, there's a trifecta there, which is strong in our community. I know like that, you know, being new to the community, just like the fact that it was like, there's enough elementary kids that you could have two schools, but by having a primary school and intermediate, it's like the families kind of really rally around all kids, so that's something to leverage and ask about. And a lot of the stuff in the industry and graduation, like student achievement, literacy focus, graduation, all of those things. And then all the partnerships, volunteer, career fair, CTE, all those things kind of were a pretty strong cluster. Did you add anything?
Yeah, I think we had a lot with the CTE and the personalized learning, and a lot with the community connection and partnerships that we have with the people.
Walmart has some great industries to leverage, and they're willing to have kids go out and come in, and then we're right next to OSU, so we kind of are spoiled with kind of both, like access to a bigger system, but then even within our smaller ecosystem, really, really cool things and willing partners to work with us.
Yeah, it is kind of like special sauce for this school district that you are smaller, but then you're right next to a university now. That's pretty awesome.
And I'm pretty close to a community college too, which.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for that.
And if you love community college, you should run for the community college board.
Yeah, we're still looking.
Not a single, I don't think they have a single candidate in our.
Let's start with Paloma School District Board, shall we?
Well, if you run for the board, Paloma, so.
I couldn't run, sorry, I couldn't do it this time. Okay, so this was a slide, we already had this conversation. It's like, yes, we want to refresh the vision statement. Yes, we want to refresh the mission statement. Values, I don't know if this is something that's interesting to you. Those are values, are the things that if broken, prevent the organization from achieving its goals. Is that a conversation that you'd like to have? Seeing nods in this. Just trying to say, okay, so we're gonna do some values too, and then profile of a graduate, we can, then all that, awesome. So we might have to add a meeting, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, that's it. Go home. No, so I'll explain what the next step is. Because we have a meeting in April, the beginning of April. So my job is to go home and take this input that you've provided for me. Thank you so much for it. And turn that into a survey. What to work from, but it will be customized for your district. As quickly as I can, I will get a link for that to Michelle. And then we'll go ahead and get that in the community. Hopefully we can have it out there for 2 weeks. And then what I'll do is I will take the output from that and I'll create slides with data visualization. I will pull out the themes from the open-ended responses and create, things, and so you can interpret that. Yes.
So it's probably built into this. Part of my thought of this community interaction is a couple open-ended questions that may come out at like the town hall meeting, but one is, where do you see the school in 5 years, 10 years? And
The district, right?
yeah, like, yeah,
Not the school, but the
yeah,
district. Okay.
yeah. School district, where do you see that going? And what is forms missing? So we're asking certain questions, but is there a reason, or in the community involvement engagement, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, or what can we add? What do you not want us to see? What do you want to make sure stays? And what are we missing? So those may not be survey questions, but that's kind of what I was hoping to, in this long-term planning, is basically long-term facilities and instructional.
So I heard a question about where do you see the district in 10 years? As I'm looking around the room, does that resonate with the room? Is that something that we want to hear more about?
Well, I would be more comfortable with like 5-year, as opposed to a 10-year, because 10 years is a long ways out with the way, technology changes and everything. It's just hard to build on something that far out. If you kept it on a 5-year deal, I think it'd be a little more worthwhile.
Okay. Is that-
So there's so many changes that can happen so fast that,
Yeah,
I mean, you can have a 10-year plan, but it's gonna be changing so frequently that, like you
Yeah.
say, I think, I don't know, it's,
Well, you-
that last 5 years of the 10-year plan, I don't know how effective that would be. I mean, it's not bad to look forward, but I don't know how useful it could be.
well, you can.
Well, there's certain things long-term, like
Well,
facilities.
you can work on the 5-year plan, but then you can still have a few things on the 10-year plan that kind of fit into a 10-year deal, but concentrate on the 5-year. Because things do change so fast.
I could make it ambiguous and say 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's,
Or just what's your vision for the future of our school district? If it's a question, does it need to be time bound or can it be?
As hard as sometimes when you think about a bond or facilities, you have to really think further out in terms of like facilities, like your bigger vision, but then like what Rick's saying too, it's like, like what we're actually program wise might be like thinking in more of the 5-year chunk, so there's a little bit of both.
well, that's what I was thinking, more of this strategic plan is more of the educational stuff that changes so rapidly. Now we get into the facilities, long-range facilities, then you're talking 10 to 20 years. Because some of the things you do last 20 years, so, it's a whole different ballgame in my mind.
Could I ask just a clarifying question?
Sure.
The questions that you're gonna come back to share with us, those questions really would kind of indicate what we're looking at for 5 and 10 years, right? Like,
Yes.
they would kind of provide a people's responses and what they're hoping for
Mhm.
through those questions.
Yeah, and there's instructions in the beginning of the survey that lets them know that you're doing strategic planning, that it has a 5-year horizon.
What is the goal of getting return responses? Do you ever get a good majority of return responses?
I mean, what is it gonna, no, you probably never get a majority, although I would say there was probably, they had a really good response from 5th graders. Like, all the 5th graders like.
Maybe they did it in my class.
Very.
That goes to the question of like, we had a time tonight to kind of hear kind of the whole project, like this is gonna go out to the community twice, and it's gonna be over a year that we're doing this. Sometimes our parents will get surveys from me or from the district around a cell phone policy or something, and so how do we articulate that what we're engaging in as a district with the board? We're asking about a strategic plan, and it's gonna actually go somewhere. I think sometimes people, they get a survey and they just, for you to articulate that, to like kind of what we're asking for and where it's going, and not to the weeds of like, someday Mr. Beasley will be writing a school improvement plan and his teacher's goals will all filter through up to this. I mean, you can go too much information. I think about it at that level, but for just a person I'm sending it out to go, oh, it's that time again that we want to review our strategic plan, and this information is gonna go somewhere.
Yeah, and so we have a template email that goes with that, I'll send to Michelle, and then within the survey itself, it explains for the respondents how the district is going to use the information, yes.
And we
That would be-
also make sure that we offer it as an option in Spanish.
Ooh,
I like it. We've got somebody who can do, translation. So if we have questions,
you can get it translated, then I can
That would
build
be
it.
really
Yeah.
important.
if you've got, when you get the questions, what I can do is if they're in a Google Doc or a Word doc, I can just give them to Marina and ask her to do the translation.
That's great, thank you, because we don't have internal translation of it.
She's so fast.
That's really helpful too. Yeah, then once I have text, it's easy to build it. And I know enough Spanish that I can kind of like, I kind of know. Okay.
She's much better than Google Translate.
We would not do it that way. Thank you for that.
That's a great.
And if OSBA ever needs a translator, let me know. I know some good ones.
Good. I'm always looking for one. Okay. So that's process. So the other one was, the other interesting question from you was, what is missing in our district? Is that something that we want to get in there?
I think it's interesting. I think it's like, we just don't know what we don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly the words I was.
The reason I'm asking that is like Eric said today, he went and talked to basically the timber industry for money for climbing wall. So if we're going to ask in the community for money for different things, we should also ask them, hey, what is it you think we're missing or what are we doing great? Because if those are the people we're going to ask for money from or taxpayers for bond stuff, we need to ask them. We need to ask them, hey, what do you think? What are we missing or what are we doing good at?
I especially want to see the kid responses to that one.
yeah, I mean, we're gonna ask it across all 4 responding groups, so it could be really, really interesting.
Playground.
Yeah, and they will, I mean, kids, they will give you the unvarnished truth, it's great. Okay. Any questions for me?
Vince, will you be sending a copy of the slides to Michelle?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Cause I'm thinking ahead of when 2 of us will be going off the board. In June, at the end of June, and so it would be nice to be able to provide this kind of, if we have the access to this presentation for new incoming board members and,
For sure.
yeah.
It's a good suggestion.
We have 3 positions open.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, I yield back to the chair.
Thank you everybody for your participation tonight. It's, I love it that we can be together and work together. And it's embarking on some processes to give us some updates and direction, which is gonna be real good. Appreciate the help of Vince and OSBA. And again, the board's commitment to be able to, make that happen for us. I'm looking forward to the work, and continuing down the road. So thank you, Vince, very much. I appreciate it.
Truly a pleasure as an employee of OSBA, but also as a neighbor who I live next door and play in your community and care about your kids. So it's filling my cup too. So thanks for bringing me along.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here, Vince.
Thanks, Vince.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night. And how do you?
I don't know.
I see you 20.
All right.
Nice.
Anybody want to see?
Can I talk to you just for a second?
Yeah.
We were at the training last